Minister, you and I have often spoken about this. The public, we both know, want to play their part in mitigating climate change. Everybody wants to help sustain a planet that can sustain our children and grandchildren and future generations going forward. And the more people are included and involved in projects that help to create an environment like that, the more they're involved by government and local government, the more positive and included that they feel, and generally the better disposed they're going to be towards the projects that we're trying to bring in. This scheme, the Tallaght to Old Bawn Active Travel Scheme, is a case study in how not to proceed and how not to win public approval for a measure that the government and local government wants to bring in. One of the issues here, and there are many issues, was the manner in which the public consultation took place or didn't take place. If this was air or virgin, you'd get a letter in every individual letterbox telling people what was coming down the line, and at least giving them some visual idea of the impact that it's going to have on them. So what we've done, what you've seen, is in some parts of South Dublin, parts of my constituency, you have cycle tracks where you have an individual cycle track on both sides of the road. Then in other schemes, you have two-way cycle tracks on one side of the road, and that's what's happened here. And one of my issues with it is this. Yes, if we want people to abandon cars, we have to create safe cycleways and safe pedestrian ways. We also, and I think this is one of the most significant flaws in this, we also need to offer public transport as a real option to them. So the idea of a bus corridor that could potentially go from Tallaght to Dundrum has been done away with now because of the way this road has been laid out. There's simply no way of putting a bus corridor on both sides of this road. And there is actually a bus corridor from Ballybowden to Dundrum, so half of it is there. So that's the first layout. I just want to set out the stall. This was not the way to do it. Part 8, full public consultation is the way to go. I just want to say, yeah, stakeholder buy-in is really critical. So who are the stakeholders? Obviously the local people who live and use the roads, parents particularly, parents who are under pressure in the morning, because you know what, one of the things that happened is that school drop-off points were eliminated. School drop-off points that had been there were lost as a result of the construction of the cycle track. Second thing, stakeholders also are public representatives, TDs, councillors. I think councillors, I know you said councillors were briefed on a number of occasions in relation to this. The impression I get is that the visuals that they were given weren't very impactful, didn't give them, or some of the local community organisations that were contacted. And this isn't being critical, I'm just offering this as a way, look, we need to do things better, because I've cycled this route, walked this route, very, very supportive of active travel. But the stakeholders include councillors, TDs. We need better visuals. I was at a transport forum meeting last week in Tallaght. The bus drivers actually said we weren't two buses driving side by side along this road, even though mathematically it's possible in terms of the road width. They were saying, well, overhanging trees actually means that a bus had to kind of lean out a little farther into the road, so you're eating up some road space. In fairness, South Dublin County Council engineers said they will accompany bus drivers along the route on a bus. So their bus drivers, the NTA were consulted and bus companies were, but bus drivers who drive the routes, they weren't consulted. Second point was, in relation to pinch points at particular junctions, advantages for public transport should be considered. They should just be an essential part of this. I think the Minister, in his response to a PQ parliamentary question to me, he says, you know, he's considering the public consultation requirements in accordance with Section 38 of the Road Traffic Act. He says, in addition, my department is working with local authorities in order to create an environment whereby there will be greater levels of community engagement. It's not too late on this project, Minister, and I'd really be encouraging Minister Ryan to talk to South Dublin County Council and the NTA to see what can be done in relation to the Tallaght to Old Bawn cycle track, even now, because it's not even near completion, and it certainly would result in buy-in from the local community. Thanks, Laskin.